everybody in there, and I mean, and I'm not joking when I say that we literally, some of the men in the audience, because the women, they had already put out the hankies, and they were crying out loud. I mean, it was no joke about it. It touched you like that. It touched you intellectually, it touched you emotionally. All of us were sitting up in the audience looking at each other, trying not to cry as we watched each other cry. I mean, it was just, what I'm trying to say is art has a way of engaging you, not just intellectually, but touching you at that deeper human level. But guess what else it did? And it made me conscious of this. As we all sat in that theater, and I looked around, Antonio Banderas on stage crying because his love just died, Man of La Mancha, you know, that whole story. And I'm looking at that, I'm looking around the audience, and let's just say there wasn't a lot of diversity in the audience, so I kind of stood out, but there was some. But I looked around and saw a variety of people who we probably wouldn't have interacted or engaged with one another. You know, just out on the street, if we'd seen each other out on the street in New York, we probably wouldn't have connected. But in that theater, through that art, through what was coming off that stage, what it made us think and what it made us feel, connected us in that moment, not based on our difference, but around our common humanity. Our common humanity was touched intellectually and emotionally in a way that when we looked around, we were all connected as human beings having a common human response to a tragedy that we were just experiencing. That's the power of arts in our lives. It can connect us. It can connect us in ways that sometimes words, especially when they're coming from some of these polarizing politicians, enough of my soapbox, I won't go there, but some of these polarizing politicians are dividing us. Art has a way of connecting us, even when we're not conscious of it, about our common humanity. I want to mention another one I went to that was real unique. It was called In the Heights. In the Heights is about Latin, primarily Dominican Republic immigrants, you know, up in Brooklyn, in New York. And they have an area of New York called Washington Heights. And this was a story called In the Heights. And it had the exact same effect, but an entirely different story, an entirely different culture. And instead of a cast of just a few, it had a cast of about 40 or 50 people in it. An entirely different thing. But I want to mention in that one, we had moments where not only were we all laughing together, there were moments when what happened on that stage got us so excited that we were all up on our feet for a minute, and some of us even were getting jiggy with it in our seats. We couldn't stand still because it was powerful. Right from the stage, it touched our common humanity in ways that made us celebrate, ways that made us laugh. And at the same moment, there was a tragedy in that story that had us all just weeping our eyes out. Weeping our eyes out. I mention this because, once again, the arts have the power, just like it does in the education that I talked about, that content-to-content connection from the art to other academic subjects. In life, the arts also have that capacity of content-to-content, but this time it's the content of the stories or the content of the music. How many of you ever heard a piece of music that made you just want to get up and dance as long as nobody's watching you? You know what I mean? You know how we dance when we're at home in private? I don't know about you, but I get loose when I got music and nobody watching, and I'm very self-conscious when people are watching. You know, you just barely move. You know what I mean? You kind of sedity about it, as they say. But when nobody's watching, you get some music and you just run around the house like, hey, like you would never do maybe out in public. But the music will hit you like that, and you can't stand still. You'll hear a piece of music that will make you feel a tragic moment in your life. You'll hear a piece of music that will make you imagine the life of another culture or another person that you may never have experienced. A piece of music can do that. Drama and theater can do it even more powerfully. I wish that my history lessons had been taught to me, because I feel sorry for my history teachers now. I want to go back and apologize to them, but too late now. But I wish that somebody had taught history to me using theater and drama. That's what I see some of these artists, theater and drama artists, taking and dramatizing history, bringing it to life, so it's not just a lot of dead people doing dead things in old times and dates we got to remember. Now it's about people who live doing real things, but in a different time, doing real things like real people are now. When history is taught like that, students don't get bored with it. So just like I'm mentioning that the arts can be a powerful tool for learning, they can be a powerful tool for connecting us and our common humanity and connecting communities where there's some tendency sometimes to divide us and pull us apart. This is, again, some of the power and why I'm such a strong advocate for and practitioner in the arts. I just believe that it has a real power. And it adds to our quality of life. It really can add to our quality of life. There's a couple of things, points that I just wanted to make, and then hopefully we can open it up for some dialogue. How long do we have here, Amanda?
An hour.
Okay, all total. Now, some of y'all got to wake up, or I'm going to come on out there and stand next to you and talk to you straight up. But we'll open up when we get to the Q&A part. But there's a couple of things. One of the things that, there's a book here. Have any of you ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Eric Booth? No? He's internationally renowned. And I said that some of the things that I would try to address is that there are others who think like me, who believe that the arts have such capacity and such power that we need to try to see how we can infuse it into not only learning, but how infuse a bit more of it into our lives so that we can help to impact and improve the quality of our lives and the way that we relate to one another. And one of them, named Eric Booth, has a book out called The Everyday Work of Art. Everyday Work of Art. It's awesome. If any of you, even if you're not in the arts, it's worth reading, because some of you automatically think artistically and just don't know it. But it's really a powerful book. But in this book, he makes a really interesting statement. He said, art is creativity. But in that creativity, art is really doing what is ordinary, but in an extraordinary way. Doing what is ordinary in an extraordinary way. That is what makes art. Anybody might be able to create an image. An artist will create an image that has a special aesthetic or a special beauty to it, or a special idea or message that emanates from what they create. Most art has a message, whether we pick up on it or not. That's why sometimes I go to these visual art exhibitions, and I always try to listen to the people who think they know a little something to make sure I'm getting what it's supposed to be. I'm looking at it and thinking, "Ooh, what is that?" And somebody next to me, they're talking all deep about it, and I say, "Oh, now I get it." And then I start looking at it differently. Or I'll go in and have my interpretation, and out of my own ignorance of what it really is, I'll start telling somebody what I think it is, and they'll pick up on that and run with it. So art is subject to interpretation, but it also communicates ideas and messages. But the reason it does is because it takes what people can create, and it extends that creativity, that message, that content, and that image in an extraordinary way. That's how art can inform our lives. That's what I mean by arts for learning, but also arts for living. So I like the fact that doing ordinary things, but in an extraordinary way. I'd like to suggest that for you, students, especially you seniors, remember I talked about at the beginning what is required to make you stand out, make you unique among all the peers who are out there job searching? Think about it. Think about preparing yourself to do the ordinary job that might be expected of you, but in an extraordinary way. Think like an artist as you go about your particular skill set, or as you go about your particular discipline. Think like an artist. How do I do what I do? How do I take what I know and bring it to bear in not just the way everybody else might do it, or even just the way I've been taught it? How do I take that knowledge and use it and apply it in an extraordinary way? Not only is that something I'm recommending, I'm saying for those of you who are about to go out into the workforce, I'm more than recommending it. I'm saying you need to do it. You need to think about how you're going to do things in that extraordinary way. Think like an artist. Think about innovation. Think about creation. Think about what you bring from your personality, your experience, and your learning that you can now bring out into the world that makes you unique and extraordinary, not just among the ordinary. That is how the arts can have value for life. Also, I would encourage you, Arts for Life, is do like I've done, and that is go to arts events. You will meet people who are diverse. Diverse comes from a term that basically means unlike. Unlike you. You will meet people who are unlike you. You will immediately maybe experience and see how we're different,